Hello and welcome to another episode of Project Personality Podcast. I'll be your so-called host, Austin Ernst, and joining me today to talk about the one and only Master Chief is the Wannabe Critic himself, Gabe. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you very much for having me.
I'm all right. Had a nice, smooth morning playing some video games, so we're good. Is Gabe okay? Do you prefer Gabriel? Is that all right?
Yeah, Gabe, Gabriel, whatever you want to call
right.
me. Just don't call me Shirley. Or is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing.
I don't know, but we'll leave that in. Quick disclaimer, top of the show. I usually have a screen behind me. Right now I have just a nice wall behind me, but I have a puppy.
Oh.
He's sleeping right now, but if he's up and moving around, I want to be able to see him. So that's why I don't have a screen. So it's just kind of deal with my windows today, but that's all right. I got a new puppy.
You look great, man. There's no problems at all.
Perfect. Yeah, I got a new puppy. I got a new mini Aussie. His name's Yoshi. I'm sure you can I'm sure you can tell where that comes from. Yeah. He's a ball of energy. He's sleeping right now. He's been sleeping all morning, so that's nice. He was screaming all night, so needs to sleep sometime. Gabe, we're not here to talk about my puppy. We're here to talk about Master Chief, the one and only Master Chief. But before we get there, you took the 16 personalities test.
I did.
And your results were?
So I got an INFJA.
Okay. And that tagline?
That's gonna be my new tagline. Or you said, what is the tagline?
Yeah, like mine was adventurer. Did you get that?
Yeah, advocate.
Like what? Advocate. There it is. Perfect. Did you read through the strengths and weaknesses? Have you gone through that at all?
I read through it a little bit. I've been
jump out. Was it just like super on the money? Was it a little off? What do you think?
Yeah, so I found the chart here. So
Perfect.
It says, creative, insightful, principled, passionate, altruistic. Weaknesses are sensitive to criticism, reluctant to open up, perfectionistic, avoiding the ordinary, prone to burnout. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the strengths are really there, but really I feel like some of the weaknesses are kind of inflated a bit. Like maybe a little sensitive to criticism. It depends on if I feel it's unwarranted, or someone's like, "Hey, you should do this." I'm like, "Well, what have you done?" You know what I mean? Like, what you know what I mean? It's one of those things. But yeah, exactly. Reluctant to open up. Not true. Perfectionistic. Not true. Avoiding the ordinary, not true. Prone to burnout, not true. So I mean, I feel like, So I feel like, I mean, there's definitely some points that it hit pretty well, but it kind of missed the mark on a couple of them. So.
Well, you're the first person to tell me that it missed the mark that badly. So I mean, that's interesting to talk about. When I took the test, I got adventurer, just like Goku. Watch episode 1. Goku's adventurer just spoiled the whole show, but it's a nice show. Give it a listen. There was like a few outliers. Like you said, like almost all your weaknesses are kind of like pretty iffy on that. So yeah, I think I had like 1 or 2 in strengths and weaknesses, but usually they're pretty, at least for the most part, in the ballpark. But for you, it doesn't seem that way.
No, I mean, I feel like being prone to burnout kind of goes, and it says, advocates, perfectionism, and reserve may leave them with a few options for letting off steam. And literally all of my interests are literally built around my career paths.
Right.
So it's a way of life. It's in my blood. It is who I am, and luckily I have enough interests to where when one interest starts to feel a little, like I'm getting kind of tired of this. Like if I get sick of video games for a couple of days, I'll go play music or record music. Or if I get super burned out on recording music or working on something, I'll go back to games. Like I never feel like I don't have an outlet to let something, let steam off. But yeah, and it's funny you asked me. I might be kind of a funny guest to have on the show because these personality tests, they got, it kind of blew up. And after looking at this test, I did realize that I did get something different than the last time I got it, or the last time I took it. And I get something different every time I take these tests. And it's funny.
What's the gap in between taking them? Do you know?
Years. I mean, years of time. Yeah. Like, I think the first time I took it, I got like a INTP, I think was the score. I've gotten a bunch of different scores. So I do think the test can definitely, like, depending on what particular day you've actually taken it, like the answers can change on any given
Mhm.
day. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah,
So
totally.
it cracks me up how sometimes people, like, I literally had a girlfriend one time who was like, well, you have to be feeling this way because you scored this, you got this
Right.
ranking on this test. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
Straight up.
straight up, like, that's stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what
not
I
how that
mean?
works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how that works. You know, it's just, it is, but it is fun to kind of see how well the computer thinks it knows you, you know?
Right.
I guess my, you know, I hope this isn't digressing too much, but I guess my biggest criticism with these tests has been
Mhm.
that our culture, especially, you know, like younger people, have taken that and like used that as their Bible and be like, well, if this
Yeah.
person scored this, then they have to be this way. I know exactly how to
Mhm.
read them and exactly how to judge them, and that's stupid. So
I think people need to take it with a grain of salt for sure. It's like it's a
yeah,
general like saying like advocate. Like just I'm an advocate. That's I guess so, you know, like it doesn't
yeah,
exactly spill it out for you. So
yeah. I mean,
so yeah,
whenever I
I
think,
understand that.
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, didn't mean to hijack the topic.
No, that's totally fine. I want to know people's opinions on the test because like I said, you're the first person that one disagreed for the most part. And two, you're the first person that kind of had to at least vocalize their little gripe with it. And I like that because usually my guests are just all like, yeah, this is perfect. Let's go. Let's keep
Yeah,
going. And so I like that. I like that, you know, it's a little stop in the show that, hey, maybe these things aren't always 100%. And people need to take that as well. So, but we're just having a little fun here when we're talking about
yeah,
Master
exactly.
Chief.
It's
So,
exactly, totally. I totally
yeah.
get it.
So Master Chief, what's your experience with the Halo series?
Whenever everyone had their Xbox 360s and, you know,
Mhm.
we're playing Halo 3, I had a Xbox, just a regular Xbox,
Mhm.
and I didn't get to play Halo 2 until I was a freshman in high school. And I didn't have Xbox Live. I didn't have any of the new stuff, and Halo 2 was really my first, you know, Halo game that was mine. I'd played Halo 3 at other people's houses, but
Mhm.
once I beat Halo 2, I was like, "Oh my god. Like, this is insane. How do I, you know?" And it wasn't long after that I started working, and then I'll never forget, like, the very first game I bought whenever I saved up, you know, my paychecks. And the first game I bought on my 360, it was either get a hard drive or get a game. So it was like I had to wait
Okay.
a couple weeks in between. So I was like, well, I'll get a game and like just deal with it, whatever, you know, no
Just deal
problem.
with it. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, like I would just rather play. So Halo became a pretty big part of my gaming experiences, you know, 7, 8 years ago, and I've played ever since. So I love the game. I think Master Chief is kind of at face value, you might think he's just kind of a one-sided character, like almost like a Kratos of sorts, pre 2018 God of War era. You know,
It's a good point.
you could kind of like put him in that type of category, but
Mhm.
I also think that actions speak louder than words, and you don't necessarily have to. Master Chief doesn't necessarily have to have a ton of dialogue because he does a ton of freaking awesome stuff with his actions in the games.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's kind of a mysterious character. He's kind of an interesting character, and I think
Mhm.
that's why I wanted to pick him. You know, whenever you asked me, like, "Hey, let's think of a character to talk about." So,
Yeah, I think the argument there is that he's maybe a little one note. Like it's kind of what you're getting at. Like people will say that. My best example for that in my mind is kind of like the Keanu Reeves before John Wick. I don't know if you're aware of his roles, but Keanu Reeves is usually just kind of a monotone-ish baddie, but a good guy. You know, he's just kind
yeah,
of not a lot of emotion there. And
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of the vibe people get from Master Chief. My experience with Halo is a little odd. I never owned an Xbox. This Xbox Series S is the one I'm going to go with for next gen. It will be my first Xbox I've ever owned. But
wow,
I played every single Halo game with my cousin because he had an Xbox. So I've
okay,
played through every single Halo game at least once.
okay,
And it was the one the one Xbox franchise that I was like, this is a must play. Like I was always a PlayStation fanboy, and I probably will be till the day I die. But I had to play that Halo. I had to get that fix.
very nice. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I'm right there with you too. Whenever it comes in terms of like PlayStation stuff, because it's getting sometimes it's amusing, but it's starting to get irritating on Twitter. You know, watching all the Xbox go crazy and watching all the Sony ponies react, and it's just so much pettiness. It's like, guys, apparently y'all can't buy both of them, or
Oh,
else we
I'm
would be
buying
having
both.
this conversation. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
110%.
Like I hate, like I have the big three right now. You know, I'm gonna,
Mm-hmm.
if I could, since I couldn't get a pre-order my Xbox, um now I'm just going to wait until, I'm going to wait as long as I have to because I have the One X. But it's so funny you mentioned that about just kind of being a fanboy because I spend most of my time on PlayStation because that's where I like to play games. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Mhm.
like, you know what? Just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy,
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
fine. At least, like Halo, that's a great one. Like, if someone, well, Game Pass has changed a lot of stuff, but if someone like said, "Hey,
That's true.
I'm just gonna buy an Xbox just to play Halo," no one would make fun of you for that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Not a soul.
good on
Yeah,
you.
I would say that I pre-ordered the Series S. I have not pre-ordered the PlayStation 5 because I was sleeping at the time, and then that whole fiasco happened, and yeah. So I'm not gonna fight anything. I'm just gonna wait, and I'll get one eventually. Let's get right into the questions. Do you have the test pulled up somewhere? Because if you don't, I would do that.
I got it.
Okay, perfect. So the first question is: you enjoy vibrant social events with lots of people. So now we're answering for Master Chief.
Right.
Does Master Chief enjoy vibrant social events with lots of people? What do you think?
I think that's a hard disagree, like a full
Hard
on,
disagree.
like a hard disagree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I think, I mean, in Halo 2, he shows up to his ceremony and he's kind of like talking to Johnson. And he's like, "You made me come here." You know what I mean? He's like, "You said it was going to be a small affair or whatever," and he's like, "Well, you said you were going to dress nice." So yeah, I think it's safe to say Master Chief doesn't care about fanfare in any sense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's probably one of the only few vibrant social events I can even think of, if that even involves him. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Hard disagree. Next question. You often spend time exploring unrealistic yet intriguing ideas. Does he ponder on these ideas? What do you think?
I think inherently he has to, because whenever the flood comes into the picture and, like trying to connect the dots with the Forerunners and just kind of like trying to piece together the puzzle, like you're experiencing those things as Master Chief.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I would have to say, like, I would say like a hard agree would be he chooses, like he almost enjoys doing that thing.
Right.
But I feel like the first bubble of agree, like that might be like he doesn't necessarily want to, but he wants to do the right thing. So, I don't know. What do you think? I feel like either the first degree agree bubble or the second bubble.
I'm right
would
there with you. I was
probably
kind of floating around that area of agree. I don't think it's a hard agree. I agree with you on that sentiment where he'd probably be enjoying it or something along those lines if there were to be a hard agree. So when you say he has to, you mean like in a combat sense or just like in the reality that he's in?
just the reality that he's in. You think about the situation he finds himself in. Like if you're ignorant, you die.
Right.
like most of the thing that sets him apart from, and you do die. You do die in a lot of situations. So not just even unrealistic idea. Let's blow up this mass weapon of destruction.
Right.
Intriguing. Maybe we can pull it off. He does it multiple times.
Absolutely.
So, but I do think it does fall into that realm of it's a line of duty. It's not because he actually wants to do this thing, or I don't think it's because he's enjoying this thing. I think he's bound by duty to do this thing. So I don't know. I think the second bubble probably is
second bubble.
He has to do this thing. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I will agree with that. It's almost like an obligation of his.
Yeah, he does. Exactly. He's obligated to fulfill his duty, but he doesn't really want to. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I feel like there's more there too, where the unrealistic yet intriguing ideas don't necessarily have to be about the war or anything.
Exactly.
It could be like what his life could have been otherwise, which I feel like those thoughts do pop in his head if he is even
for
human.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right. Next question. Your travel plans, which is funny, your travel plans are more likely to look like a rough list of ideas than a detailed itinerary. Does Master Chief have travel plans?
I don't know, but I feel like that's a hard agree. Like it's just a rough, like we'll see. We'll just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. Like, let's see if we can make this happen. Thinking on the fly.
Yep, totally. That's kind of like his whole thing. His whole shtick is just kind of making things work as they appear. So right there with you. You often think about what you should have said in a conversation long after it has taken place. I don't think he dwells on these things, but what do you think?
I don't care. I don't think he cares. Like, I'm Master Chief. I do what I want. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think
it's a big head thing, though. Just to clarify, I don't think it's like I'm Master Chief. I can do what I want. I think it's more of he just doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Yeah, no, and I was just using that as kind of a, like,
Yep.
not an
Yep.
unintentional thing. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm gonna meet you, I'm gonna forget about you, and I don't care. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, I think there's like either the hard agree or hard disagree. It's like a definitive yes or no, and we find ourselves kind of like in the middle of this thing. I think that's a definitive no. You know,
Mhm. Totally agree. Yeah, he's a face value type of person. So for
totally.
sure. Next question. If your friend is sad about something, your first instinct is to support them emotionally and not try to solve their problem. Does he have a lot of friends? Cortana,
He
I
has
guess.
Cortana. I mean, but let's not, does Cortana have emotions though? You know, is kind of the thing that I fall into. I mean, I get she's an AI. I
Mhm.
feel like this is an indifferent answer because I feel like this falls kind of in the middle. Like, I do think
Okay.
he wants to help, but he also falls in the middle of, like, this is some, like, this person that we've kind of come to know, or that he's kind of come to know. Yeah, I mean, I think it does kind of fall in the middle of yes and no, because maybe he wants to, but he doesn't know how to not try and solve the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely gray area for this one.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
kind of hard too because the source material that we have is pretty much only an AI
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there's not a lot of friends really in his life. I
Well, and
will say,
whenever, yeah, go
go
ahead.
on.
Sorry. No, I was just
I'll
gonna
take
say,
it.
like,
Okay, go.
yeah, sorry. I hate Zoom so much. I hate Zoom. I hate Discord. I hate it all. You know, he has several acquaintances like, Johnson, and the commander. You know, they both die in Halo 3, right? No
Right.
emotion, no nothing. You know, like, we just need to make sure they don't die in vain, right? You know, that whole thing.
Mhm.
But I think it does kind of just fall into. I don't think he doesn't feel, or that he doesn't care, but I don't think he has the capacity to do anything other than try and solve the problem.
Yep, I completely agree. That's kind of where I was going to go. I will say, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, I feel like if there is any relationship the Master Chief has that is even remotely emotional, it's with Cortana. So that's
Yeah,
where I get to an extent where it might be a soft agree, but ultimately I'm leaning towards if we have to go. Cause I do want to stay out of the middle, just because
yeah.
that's one of the things they tell you at the top to just kind of avoid those. That helps with just the results of the test. So I think I want to go a soft disagree, but I want to know your opinion on that.
Okay. I think that's probably a good, yeah. Soft disagree. That's a good idea.
Okay. Next question. People can rarely upset you. And I feel like that's pretty accurate. I don't think we see him go in any emotional rages.
Yeah, I think that's a
So,
definitive yes.
yeah. Yep. Right there with you. You often rely on other people to be the ones to start a conversation and keep it going.
I feel like that's a definitive yes.
Yeah, he's a man, even if he is even a man, of very few words.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's just not like he likes to shoot stuff. That's about it. Less shooty,
yep.
more talk, or less talky, more shooty. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the whole shtick. You like you said earlier, he's more of an action oriented kind of guy. He's going to
yeah,
show you what he means by his actions for sure.
exactly.
If you have to temporarily put your plans on hold, you make sure it is your top priority to get back on track as soon as possible.
I think that's a definitive yes. So things repeatedly do not go according to plan during Chiefs,
Yep.
what the things he does, but he makes it a priority to execute the thing that he's doing. So
I can't even think a lot of examples that he gets sidetracked. Like
yeah, I
he gets
mean, like,
sidetracked away from like a straight path there, but he's always going towards like the actual objective.
right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
All right, next question. You rarely worry if you made a good impression on someone you met. Now, I will point out that this says you rarely. So if you rarely worry, so if he hardly ever worries, this is an agree.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I just know
yeah,
with past guests that word will sometimes trip people up, which for a
yeah.
personality test shouldn't be there. If this is a personality test that's going to help a person understand themselves, don't try to trip them up. Just say.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that question. There's several questions that are asked in a different way. It's like, that you just asked me this question. I said
Mhm,
agree, but you're asking it in such a way now to where I have to say disagree. Like,
mhm.
you're just asking the same question, and which is, it's fine. I notice. I've taken this test a few
Right.
times now.
And I understand why they're doing it because they really want to sell home if you're answering it right, and they really want to get that right aspect of your personality, so they have to ask that question a few times. But it is annoying, and it is in several ways. It's annoying because it's repeated. It's annoying because they reword it to try to trip you up, and it's just that's
Right.
not something you should do. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. I
anyway.
totally agree. Hard agree on that one.
Okay, so you rarely worry if you made a good first impression on someone you met.
Yeah.
So since he hardly ever does that, is that just a hard agree then?
Yeah. I think that's a
Yeah.
definitive yes.
It would be a challenge for you to spend the whole weekend all by yourself without feeling bored. What does he do on the weekends?
Yeah, that's kind of my question. Like, does he? I think Master
Crack
Chief is.
open a cold one?
I don't think there's no rest for the wicked, right? I think he's always busy shooting things. So I'm gonna say like that's probably a definitive no.
Oh yeah, I was leaning that way. That it's not a challenge for him to be bored. I just like to think, what does he do on the weekends? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
if
we've
he
seen
if
it. We
he
saw,
had a
yeah.
weekend.
If he has a weekend to like, is he gonna go to a? Is he gonna be on the beach somewhere? You know, surfing on some Corona, or I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what's he doing? Yeah, but that is. I don't think he takes breaks. I don't think Master Chief stops to do anything fun. I think he just shoots Covenant and does his thing.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything else. That is his existence. You know.
Yeah, totally.
You are more of a detail-oriented than a big-picture person. And just to clarify, that last question was a hard disagree, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
More of a detail-oriented person than a big picture person. I think this is probably a no, like a disagree.
I don't think it's hard though.
Okay, I want to hear.
Because we talked about earlier where in a question similar to this, like we brought up before, where there was some nuance there where he will just kind of like go off on a tangent, or he won't go off on a tangent. He'll always be going towards his goal. But I mean, it's not exactly how is it going again. So hold on 1 second. You are more of a detail-oriented than a big-picture person. Yeah, my gut, there was a question, I can't remember what it was now, but there was a question in the past where I thought there was some nuance to it for a similar question to this.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, you know, after thinking about it while you were saying what you were saying, I think too, like, details, if it was a hard disagree, then he'd just be flailing about with like no direction, like not even really thinking about anything.
Yeah, it was the one where he brought up like the combat mission. It was something along those lines.
Yeah,
I can't remember which one it was.
We were talking about like, I think it was Cortana or something, like execution, like something about smart details, but ultimately like he still blows up Halo a couple of times. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, there it is. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's a definitive no. Actually, I actually think it's probably a soft disagree, because I still think he has to put together details in such a way to execute the thing that he wants to do. And sometimes there's so many moving parts. He's like, okay, how do I do this thing then if this thing's happening over here? And like, oh, okay, like the flood showed up or whatever's happening. Like, how do I make all these details work? Oh, frick, I'm out of ammo. What is around me where I can make my situations around me, you know, like actually executable to where I can make this end goal thing happen? So I think it's a soft disagree than even a mid disagree.
That's where my gut was at. You put it way more eloquently than what I was trying to get at. I just couldn't put it to words for a second there. I apologize. But no yeah, in his line of work, there's got to be some detail orientation there. There's got to be some part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can just, you know, well said.
Next question. You are very affectionate with people you care about. Hard disagree, right? Right. But what do you think?
I've never seen Chief be affectionate ever. So yeah, I'd have to agree.
Right.
Hard disagree.
Perfect. All right, next page. You have a careful and methodical approach to life.
I think this is like a middle disagree, honestly.
Okay. Methodical. Is it the methodical that got you?
Yeah, I mean,
not necessarily careful.
Yeah, well, either careful and methodical, because to me, methodical, I believe the definition is it's like a due process, right? So it's more of a tried and true type of process. You know what? I'm gonna look it up, the definition. Can I do that really fast?
Absolutely.
I want to make sure
I have legitimately Googled definitions on this exact podcast. So you do whatever you got to do.
So yeah, the methodical definition, it says done according to a systematic or established form of procedure, right? So I mean, do we count shooting things as methodical and careful? I mean,
I think his line of work has to have some kind of methodology to it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you need training. He would need training, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but then again, like all the people who have had the same training or similar training around him, like they're all getting killed.
It's true.
So, I mean, he kind of is going against the grain. Like he kind of just does whatever he wants. Careful is like completely out of the window. There's nothing careful about
that's where I'm at too.
Yeah, like Master Chief being careful. So that's gone. Methodical, you're kind of, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It has to be, no, go. It's absolutely fine. It has to be on disagree side, just because the methodical is still iffy. The careful, like you said, out the window. It's gone. There's no way he's not careful. So that's why we have to be on disagree side. I just don't know if it's a soft or middle disagree. My gut is telling me soft, just because he does have to be methodical, and he's not even remotely careful. So therefore, I think the methodical is still there, though. I think so. In my mind, it's soft. But what do you think?
Dang it, Austin. You're right.
Tough questions.
Soft degree. Soft degree. You know what's? The questions aren't hard. They're not hard questions. It's Master Chief. Master Chief is like.
Hey, you chose
that. Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, is like he's an interesting character, but I don't know. It's gonna be awesome if we get Master Chief at the end of this. If like we're calling this, have you ever admittedly, I've never watched an entire episode because I usually listen to my podcast audio only.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever gotten a character like that was recommended after you had done the test? Like, have you ever been like spot on with a character before?
No, because I know some of them will say like other characters that have this personality. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one where we did someone I don't remember which episode it was. It might have been Prince Zuko. But we did someone who was similar to Peter Parker, at least in our mind. And like we kept asking these questions and like, this sounds like Peter Parker from Spider-Man, and Peter Parker was at the end. And we didn't know that. So we did something like that, where along the lines through taking the test, we kind of got glimpses that this would be another character that we know of and that we love, and then we got that character at the end anyway. But that wasn't what we were taking the test for. So
yeah, gotcha.
And
right, yeah.
Just to clarify, you said this is a hard a soft disagree, right?
Yeah, soft disagree.
You are still bothered by the mistakes you made a long time ago. Now this could have a little nuance. What do you think? I don't think he's exceptionally bothered.
Yeah, how long is a long time ago? Like, are we talking like 6 months ago? Because I don't remember what I ate for dinner 6 months ago. That feels like forever ago.
Yeah, but I definitely remember like relationships years ago,
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, in terms of the only thing that comes to my mind with this one, you're still bothered by mistakes you made a long time ago. Halo 2, Chief leaves Cortana on the Covenant ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the events of Halo 3 directly correlate to the events in Halo 2. It literally happens right after Halo 2 is over. Like, you go from the end of Halo 2 right into Halo 3. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do we consider a couple of weeks to be a long time ago? Or
I guess this is an odd question for a fictional character. These are all odd questions for a fictional character, to be very clear. But we don't know, because it's a long time ago from like, where's our constant? You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So basically, if there's something that you think he dwells on, I think this has to at least be an agree to some extent. But I don't think he dwells on too much. Anything involving Cortana is the only chance that there would be, in my mind. Or maybe failing.
Yeah, I mean, I would go soft agree, because I think a long time ago is so relative,
Sure.
Like it feels like, I mean, well, you could put it, this is kind of like an Inception type thing too. If you put it in terms of people who are experiencing what Master Chief is experiencing, you go from Halo 2 to Halo 3, it feels like a long time ago since we've seen Cortana.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
I think we should put it in the soft agree side.
You convinced me. There we are, soft agree on that one. Okay.
Yeah.
At parties and similar events, you can mostly be found farther away from the action.
I think this is a definitive yes.
Yes, absolutely. I was gonna say one at the top of that. I cannot picture him partying, but we did say he might be at a beach drinking a Corona, so we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But for some godforsaken reason, he is at a party. He's not going to want anything to do with this party.
No, he's not going. Yeah.
I pictured Master Chief with like swimming trunks over his armor, just like on a beach drinking a beer.
Yeah, with like an umbrella like stuck in his helmet. You know what I mean? Like just kind of
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You often find it difficult to relate to people who let their emotions guide them.
I think this is a middle agree, honestly, because Chief definitely has some emotions that he, we keep coming back to Cortana, but like in Halo 2,
it's really the only constant, like emotional.
It really
constant.
is. Yeah, I mean, in Halo 2, he's so focused on saving her, and then in Halo 3, she gets corrupted. So yeah, I do think.
I don't think he cares, but I also don't think he can do so without, I don't know, a strain on trying to do so, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably like a soft agree, actually. Like
soft agree?
Yeah.
No, I'm on whatever you want for that. I'm on the agree side. So if you think it's a middle of the road or soft, I'm totally okay.
Yeah, I say soft.
When looking for a movie to watch, you can spend ages browsing the catalog. And I love this question because, again, it's just not something I picture Master Chief or any fictional character really doing. Like, okay, he's just sitting on a couch, just scrolling.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so does he spend a long time looking? What do you think?
No, I don't think he's watching movies. I don't think he's watching movies or television. So I think it's inherently a no.
Yeah, I can see that argument for sure. So it's a hard disagree for you.
Yeah.
And he does seem like we said before, he's more of a do things on a whim type of person. So just to play devil's advocate a little bit, if he were to choose something, he wouldn't like think about it too much.
Yeah.
Whatever caught his eye in that very moment.
Right. Yeah. It's like, well, and I think he would be doing something else, and like television or movie would just be kind of passive. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
almost like kind of like whenever I throw the Office on in the background because it's like old friends. You know what I mean? Like
Perfect.
I'm
Yeah.
not really paying attention to what's going on. It's just kind of passively in the background, like keeping me company type thing.
That's what I do with a lot of my podcasts. It's not that I don't listen to them. It's just podcasts, especially with certain people's voices, are just soothing and they're like relaxing for me.
Sure.
So it's just like, yeah, so I'll put it on the background and then I'll be writing on some of my scripts or whatever. And so whenever I want to take a break, I don't even have to move. I literally just kind of sit here and listen to the podcast for a bit, you know? Like it's just like a short 5-minute break and then I'm back in it. So
totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Next question. You can stay calm under a lot of pressure.
I think this is a hard agree.
Perfect.
Hard
yeah,
agree.
I'm right there with you. He kind of has to. And he's shown, like, how many more examples do you need?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, the man is a beast.
Absolutely. That's probably the easiest question we've had so far, I would say.
Yeah, one of them for sure.
Mm-hmm. When in a group of people you do not know, you have no problem jumping right into their conversation. This is a hard disagree.
Hard disagree. Like, we don't even need to talk about it.
Okay, moving on. When you sleep, your dreams tend to be bizarre and fantastical. And just real quick, before we answer this one, I love to bring this up because this was a very interesting discussion between Jerica from JK Games and I when I had her on the show. We were doing Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2. And so for someone who lives in a bizarre and fantastical world, what classifies as bizarre and fantastical to them? Because we were like, so is bizarre and fantastical to Ellie like working a 9-to-5 job? Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you know, Ellie also talked about like Ellie loves comic books. So, you know, like I don't think it would be out of the ordinary. Your surroundings are relative. I don't think it matters where you're brought up. I think even if you're Master Chief, the concept of a dragon showing up seems a little bit fantastical, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If you're Ellie, like having to deal with a bloater or deal with whatever, like even though you're having, that's just your reality. Like that's what's around you. But those things that's what fantastical things are. So there's no getting around that dragons don't exist. But even in Ellie's world, there's things that don't exist in our world, but that are her norm, right? So similarly, you know, if we were doing a personality test on like Aragorn, who does live in a world where there are dragons or there are, you know, all these fantastic beasts and things like that, would it be so crazy to think about him like, oh my God, I woke up and a man was shooting arrows from a metal block, you know, or like, you know, having like dreams about a gun or something like that, you know,
right.
Or even, you know, this is kind of getting like super duper nerdy, but like just
just
the prospect of Siri showing up in Cyberpunk 2077, you know, and like kind of talking about her experiences there. And like, there's actually kind of been like a lot of conspiracy theories that there's a really good chance we're probably going to see Siri in Cyberpunk at some point in time because she does kind of warp through different realities and things like that.
Okay.
It'd be kind of, you know, it's just, so to answer the question, I don't think Master Chief dreams, first of all, very, very often. But I do think when he does, I don't think he's dreaming. I don't know about the fantastical side, but I do think that I do think there is a bizarre nature to whenever he does dream, for sure.
Right. That's another thing that it comes in my mind with his line of work. Like, I feel like it would probably be, I'm not saying he has this, but like PTSD-ish dreams.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so. Yeah, I think I can't fully say yes, but I can't, you know, like put it in. I think it's a middle agree.
Middle agree. Okay. I was leaning towards a soft agree, but if you want a middle agree, I'm okay with that too.
Okay, awesome.
Middle agree it is. Okay. In your opinion, aren't these all in our opinion? It is sometimes okay to step on others to get ahead in life. And I hate to say it, but
I think
the one nuance here is to get ahead in life. I don't know if that's exactly what he's doing, but I still think this is a hard degree because he's not gonna. It's not gonna ruffle his feathers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a definitive yes.
You are dedicated and focused on your goals, only rarely getting sidetracked. I would say agree, because
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
like we said before, he does kind of have to take left turns sometimes, but he's always
Yes.
focused on that objective. So
Totally.
if you make a mistake, you tend to start doubting yourself, your abilities, or your knowledge. I don't think so.
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a bit. All right. We're just blowing through these last ones. All right. When at a social event, you rarely try to introduce yourself to new people and mostly talk to ones you already know. The one example we brought up at the top of the show, he only talked to Johnson for the most part, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, to new people, I mean, he rarely tries to introduce himself. That's a hard agree. Like, he's not going to walk up and be like, hey, I'm Master Chief. You know what I mean? Like, so.
That wasn't a bad impression.
Oh, thanks. I have that. I just have such a deep, sultry voice. You know what I mean? No.
Fair enough. I don't have that deep of a voice, I don't think, but here we are. So, next page. You usually lose interest in a discussion when it gets philosophical. I would say, because we did say he is a face value person.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'd lose interest. I don't know if he ever has interest. I don't know.
I feel like
there's
in the
some
middle.
nuance here, but
yeah, I feel like it kind of falls in the middle a little bit. But if I have to pick one way or the other, and we're trying to stay away from gray, I say a soft disagree.
Okay, so you don't think the one thing I might just want to point out is it says you usually lose interest. So if you're disagreeing with that, that means if you take out you lose interest in a discussion when it gets philosophical, then that would make sense. But if it's usually, if you agree with it, that means that there are some where he won't lose interest. And so I feel like I agree with what you said. I just think it needs to be a soft agree.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, soft agree.
Oh, right. You would never let yourself cry in front of others. I mean, have we seen him cry?
I've never seen him cry, but I don't know. Like,
you don't think that would weigh on him at all? Like, that wouldn't even be a thought. He would just do it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think he would cry if he needed to. I mean, I don't think he doesn't strike me as the type of person that's like, oh, well, I'm a real man's man, so whatever. I feel like if the emotion ever hit him enough to where he could feel it, like imagine a man who's never cried before, you know what I mean? And then you cry for the first time, you ain't holding that back, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like it kind of just falls in the category of, no, I think if he did feel in such a way, arguably for one of the first times ever, because he's pretty monotone throughout the entire series, I still feel like he would let himself do it. So I'm going to say no.
I didn't expect that. My gut was telling me agree, but that's purely because we haven't really seen him cry. We haven't really seen his face at all, to be fair. If you want to go on the disagree side, it would have to be a soft for me. Just all because
I'll bite. As long as I can get you on the
matter there.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'll bite though. If you're willing to come on the disagree side, because there's no substance matter one way or another. So for me, it's like I would be more apt to putting it in the gray area than one way or the other. So can we make an allowance? Maybe just put it in there, because I feel like it could go either way. Honestly,
so you want to put it in gray.
Yeah, I do. I do feel like it could go either way. But if you're making me lean one way or the other, I do think it could be a soft agree or it could be a soft disagree. I don't think there's a definitive yes or no because of the lack of substance.
Okay, I was thinking about making a rule for these podcasts where you get one where you can do that. So I might just initiate that right now. So we used our one.
Okay, we used our one. All right, soft disagree then.
Perfect. Wait, what?
Soft disagree.
So have we used our one gray already?
I think, yeah, we used it. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. No, we haven't. I'm sorry. We haven't.
Okay. I thought I talked you out of it the first one. So this would be our first one.
Right. You're right. You did. You talked me out of the first one.
Okay. Perfect. You feel more drawn to places with a bustling and busy atmosphere than to more quiet and intimate ones. Disagree.
Yeah.
As a personality wise, yes, but he always finds himself in bustling and busy atmospheres just because people are killing themselves.
Exactly.
He's in combat.
I think. Yeah, I agree. Like, no, I don't think I think he would probably want a little bit of solace away from all the craziness that's happening, So, yeah.
Yep, that's a hard disagree for me. Next question. You like discussing different views and theories on what the world could look like in the future?
No.
I think he might think about this after, like,
a battle.
What if they win? What if they win? Kind of a thing,
Yeah, totally.
But I don't think he's going to enjoy discussing different views and theories. That's just not the type of person he is.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not going to grab a cup of coffee and a notepad and
and gather around the water cooler. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When it comes to making life-changing choices, you mostly listen to your heart rather than your head.
I'm going to have to go.
It's a little difficult.
It is hard because there's a lot of life-changing decisions that Chief has to make,
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk around this, right?
Okay.
When it comes to making life-changing choices,
Mhm.
you mostly listen to your heart rather than your head. Well, I do feel like in these types of situations that finds himself in, his heart is telling me, or his heart is telling me, his heart is telling him that the smartest thing to do is to save the galaxy, because it doesn't matter. There's no getting away from this. If this thing explodes, we're all going to die. So you kind of fall into this weird thing of his heart is listening to his head, you know? So I think both the heart and the head being kind of like aligned with the same goal, I think you'd have to agree either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think
So,
that would have to be a definitive yes across the board.
so you want a definitive agree.
Yeah, I think when it comes to making life-changing choices, you mostly listen to your heart rather than your head. If your heart is telling you, I have to save the galaxy.
Right. Nope.
And
I think I came around on it. My gut was having me lean towards his head, but that was nearly towards his combat focused, like, I don't know, approach to everything he does. But for the life changing choices, I feel like, yeah, maybe it is more his heart than his head. For day-to-day basis, maybe his head, but I feel like for those life changing choices, it's his heart. I think you convinced me.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think about, and this is a weird comparison to make.
Go for it.
I think, in Halo 2, whenever he goes out into space and like he drops the bomb on the Covenant ship, he doesn't know if he's going to survive or not. But in that moment, like, is that a head choice? Is that him like just using his head, or is that being like, well, I got to get this bomb off this ship. Like, I have to do this regardless. So
right. There's the argument where that can't be his head, because your head would be a survival instinct, right? So, and that's the opposite of that. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we have to, because in his that action was foreshadowed by actions that happen in Halo 1, and there's multiple things that action foreshadows later on in the series. Like, he's willing to do whatever it takes. And you can't think with your head. You can't logically and strategically Sherlock Holmes everything out and be like, oh, discombobulate. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, you got to like think on your feet. And the only way to think on your feet is to have heart and like make those decisions. And like, I'm playing Marvel's Avengers right now, and I'm like, wow, this is not a technical game at all in any sense of the word, but God doesn't have a lot of heart, and like, I'm not really,
it's there.
I'm
present.
not really thinking about it. You know what I mean? I'm reacting based on what I'm feeling, and that's making decisions with your heart. So we figured it out. We got it.
Yeah, you convinced me. My initial instinct was not that, but I came around on it because you put it so eloquently. And just to do a slight tinge on the Avengers game, I can't play that game. I'm waiting for it to improve, because I think a lot of those types of games, for me, it is really gameplay focused. I think the only reason I stuck with it I think I played 10 hours was because it was Marvel. If it was any other license, I just think I can't.
I've been trying to, and I know I don't want to digress too much from the main topic, but I'm right there with you. Like, I really like Marvel stuff.
You go on tangents on the show. Go on as long as a tangent as you want.
So I've been crapping on Avengers since day one. But, it turns to that thing of, well, if people are going to listen to you and they want to take your show seriously, how can they trust your opinion if you haven't played the game? So I traded in a bunch of stuff, and I paid off my PS5 pre-order. Picked up Marvel's Avengers. Like, you know what? Not excited for Squadrons. Not excited for Marvel's Avengers. So I'm going to get 2 games that I'm not really looking forward to and wasn't really planning on buying. And I'm going to get a couple of games that I really want, So I had ended up having like $180 worth of credit, which was ridiculous.
Perfect.
So I picked up both of those games, and I got to say, like, I'm happy to put my money where my mouth is and say I've been playing 2 or 3 hours, and I've already encountered several bugs that should not be there. I thought we finished games before we ship them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just there were things that were happening. It's just unacceptable. Like, it tarnishes Marvel's name is what it does.
It really does. Yeah. There was that news release absolutely. There was that news release where they had that patch, and I don't remember the exact number, but it fixed like 14,000 issues or something. Like, I might be exaggerating that number, but I think you understand what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot there, but whenever I'm playing the game and those moments of heart really hit, it's like, man, okay, right. Cool. Do I recommend paying $60 for it? Absolutely not.
No.
But it's like the fact right now it could be I see the potential. Like
Yeah.
it could be amongst the greatness of like an Arkham game. Like
Yeah.
it could
There are
be
remnants
there.
of it. Yeah, I
Like
totally see
there's
it.
sprinkles of that in there.
Now
But
I
right
want to ask
now
you
it's
one.
sitting like
Go
it's sitting like if Fast and the Furious had a
on.
game franchise that they've been releasing for quite some time that was just like memed into oblivion along with the movies. That's where Marvel's Avengers is right now. Like
Okay.
it's just you can't take it seriously right now at all,
Yeah.
or else you'll
No,
be
I'm
let
right there with
down.
you. I'm right there with you. I want to ask you one question though. If this
Okay,
were a free to play game, does that change things? 'Cause
a
I
little
think it
bit.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
a
think
little
it
bit it
does.
does. I do think don't call it an Avengers game. Like don't make it Marvel's Avengers, make it something else. Because you shouldn't give a
Maybe
Marvel.
like Shield or something.
Yeah, exactly like that. Like yeah, Marvel's Shield, something along those lines, right? Because what's happened is you have the MCU that has really just has such a significant pedigree at this point, right? And this is making, when we saw the screenshots and stuff, it's like, wow, store-bought versions of the Avengers in this game, cool. Okay, this doesn't look great, it doesn't look fun on the outside to play. It just everything about the marketing is just so cringe. Like everything, like from the gum packs to just the amount
Yeah.
of extra stuff that you can get in the game that you can, it just feels like too much, and it just feels like a giant cash grab.
Yeah,
um
it feels like the attempt was there, but like it was very misguided. Like I just
yeah,
don't feel like they had really a grasp on what they were trying to achieve.
it's different when you release a game. Like I would still be like, yeah, this is a huge cash grab. It'd be different if it was done.
Sure. Yeah.
If it was like done and getting raving reviews and like getting nines and 9.5s across the board and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, yeah, this is great. It'd be a completely different story. But
Absolutely.
it's
Totally
not.
agree.
And it never was going to. I called that. I don't know if you ever saw my tweet. I was like, I guarantee you this game gets like a 70 to 75 on Metacritic.
At best. Like
Guess
I
where
think
it's
I
at.
said probably not even remotely. Is it right at that? Is it actually?
It's pretty. It's at like a 72
I
critic
mean, I thought it was
score.
lower than that. That's why
Well,
I was a little
user
shocked
score is at a 5.6.
there. Okay, that's probably where I was thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said at best this gets an 8. That's where I was at in my head.
That's
like
high. That's high praise.
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where my mind
So.
was. And that's if it was finished probably. But Master Chief isn't an Avenger.
Yeah, he's
Let's
not.
get back to the
Okay.
substance matter. Luckily for Master Chief, he's not an Avenger because that game probably would have done him dirty. You cannot imagine yourself dedicating your life to the study of something that you cannot see, touch, or experience. Basically, what I like to equate this to, which it's a rough translation, so don't attack me, but could he be religious? Could he be exceptionally religious? And I don't know about that.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind because I am a very religious person, and I don't see Master Chief. I see. Here's the thing. I do see scenarios, and I do think scenarios could be encountered. I think have been encountered where he does kind of go into that territory a little bit. Like he experiences stuff like that, kind of like out of body experiences and like
Right.
weird things like that. But I don't think he would necessarily devote his life to the study of such things, even though he has to experience them. So
Totally agree.
I think that's just a definitive disagree.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Yeah, the face value that we brought up with him and that being a key characteristic in him, like it just doesn't. He's not going to ponder over these things. It's just not something that's going to be thinking about.
Yeah, he's a man of action.
We keep coming back to that face value and man of action. So hopefully we continue with that.
Yeah, me too.
You usually prefer to get your revenge rather than forgive.
Agree.
Yeah, but is that the action of the player, or is that Master Chief?
I mean, I'm making Master Chief get revenge, so yeah, I think that's an agree.
Okay. You often make decisions on a whim, which I feel like we've answered this question already. It's a hard agree, correct?
Agree, yeah.
Yep, perfect. The time you spend by yourself often ends up being more interesting and satisfying than the time you spend with other people.
Agree.
Yep. I feel like even the only like remote argument is that what does he get out of his interaction with Cortana? And again, like that's really the only argument for a lot of these questions. Yeah.
I mean, she's just there, man. Like she's there and she's guiding us along,
I feel like yes, it is the only emotional attachment arguably he even has. But I also think if he didn't have Cortana, he'd probably be right where he is for the most part.
Yeah,
like I know Cortana kind of saves his ass, but
Yeah. I totally agree.
You often put special effort. No, you often put special effort into interpreting the real meaning or the message of a song or a movie.
No.
Yeah, not very philosophical. He's not gonna wonder what my humps means deep
Yeah,
down.
exactly. Right.
You always know exactly what you want.
I thought about this for a second. I think it's still a no across the board.
Okay.
I don't think anyone always knows exactly what they want.
Perfect.
So
Yep,
I
I'm
think
right there
you
with
have to say no.
Yeah, I just playing devil's advocate because I agree. We're gonna go with the hard disagree on that one. He's very focused when it comes to his missions, so that would seem like he has at least a direction. So maybe it's not a hard disagree, but I'm okay
Yeah.
with the hard disagree. Again, that's also a mission focus. That's his job, so that doesn't necessarily speak to his internal personality.
I'd go middle disagree because you might know exactly what you want. If something interferes with that thing and it's not possible anymore, then what? You know what I mean? Like, I just
Right.
feel like there's variables. I'd go in the middle disagree.
Okay, middle disagree it is. You rarely think back on the choices you made and wonder what you could have done differently. So if he does
think
this,
this
but
is
hardly ever, it's an agree.
Yeah, I think this is a hard disagree, honestly.
Hard. You think it's a hard disagree.
Yeah.
So you think he does this often. You think he often thinks back on the choices he makes, and wonders what he could have done differently. You think he ponders
I
on
think
that
he
often?
does.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Because, even though his comrades are kind of expendable at times, I do think he does care for his comrades. So it's like he's been in a lot of battles, bro. Like a lot. I don't think he goes on with life and doesn't give some consideration to what happened on the battlefield and how he might have been able to do something differently to save the people around him. Because he doesn't disregard his comrades' lives. I mean, unless you intentionally kill your teammates. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's just my gut reaction. Is I do think he probably would be the type of person to be like, man, I wish I could have saved Joey, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Not Joey. Yeah, I do want to do the callback real quick to, we did say he would be the type of person that would step on someone to get ahead in life. There was a little nuance to the get ahead in life, but he is okay with doing that. We agreed on that.
Yeah.
I think.
I also think that just because you make a concerted effort to step on someone else doesn't mean that you aren't sad or you don't contemplate what you could have done differently in a different type of situation.
That's a good point. Maybe he just accepted a long time ago that this is part of the job. This is what has to be done.
Yeah, exactly. So in that same hat, if you accept this as part of the job and someone's getting in your way and he makes a decision that jeopardizes their life, even in that sense, he's going to think like, is there anything that I could have done differently? If there's not, then, he's not going to feel bad about it. He's not going to feel bad about if he had to do that thing over again, like, would he change anything? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I do think he does think, I think he does think about it. You know what I mean? No matter what situation he comes into, even if he's okay with in the moment, just because you're okay with something in the moment doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to think about it later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I want to ask you one thing, because I'm right there with you. We're on the disagree. We're on the hard disagree. But is there any substance matter that supports this? Is there anything? Is there a line? I don't think there's. Is there a scene?
I mean, there's a lot of books. I feel like I've
read the books. I have not read the books. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that in the books. I haven't read them in years, but yeah, I mean, in Halo 5, there is a sense of camaraderie with his team.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's I don't think there's enough
prevalent substance
because he's not evil. He's not a bad guy. Like, he doesn't not care, but he's a soldier, and soldiers got a soldier. Soldiers that I personally know people that have been through war, and you might too. PTSD is a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, even in the moment when it's like in the line of duty, you're doing your thing. When they come back to reality or whenever that thing's over, things rush in, So I think inherently, there has to be a little bit, there has to be thought involved in decisions that had been made. So maybe it's not a hard disagree, but it's definitely it's definitely in the middle for sure.
My gut was leaning towards the hard disagree once you brought up the disagree part. And I do want to bring up one more part that supports that a little bit, is that we thought he was thinking with his heart more than his head. And I know that's like hard disagree, but I still think there's enough nuance there. We even had nuance when we answered that question itself about the heart or head thing. So I think that middle of the road disagree for me is what makes the most sense.
That seems to make the most sense to me too.
Next page. When in a public place, you usually stick to quieter and less crowded areas.
Yes.
You tend to focus on present realities rather than future possibilities. There's some nuance here. Okay.
Is there?
Because Yeah, because I mean, mission objective, I guess that's very present. Usually, he's just beelining to his objective. He's not necessarily thinking about what's coming next, like we said, like we brought up earlier. Where like, what if he wins the war? I don't think that's. I think that's something he does think about.
I think as far as like tending to lean one way or the other, I think he knows what the ultimate goal is in mind, but he tends to focus on the task at hand so that the future goal can be accomplished.
Okay, so focusing on the present is him focusing on the future as well. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but I think it finally, like, okay, to win the war, we got to win these 10 battles, right? Whenever I go to boot up Halo and I'm like, okay, to beat the game, I got to beat these 10 levels. And within the game is this war. And I know that the good guys have to win because that's the type of game that it is, right? So I think Chief doing the things that he's doing, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's an agree. What do you think?
Oh, I was just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you 110%.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of my role as host. Like, I just kind of, because I feel like I've made you change your stance a little bit. Like you've gone from like a hard disagree to a soft or a middle of the road disagree.
Yeah, or a middle.
So
or soft. That's true.
Yeah, I like to bring up just maybe something you didn't initially think about, and you've convinced me on a few of them. So it goes both ways. So
yeah. Totally.
That's the benefit of having two people. Because if it was just me doing this, then it'd be wildly different. So you often have a hard time understanding other people's feelings.
Yes.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Pretty easy. Not an emotional guy, for the most part. When starting to work on a project, you prefer to make as many decisions up front as possible. And we've pretty much answered this question, which is a hard disagree, right? Because he does things on a whim. Am I wrong?
I mean, he can, but he's also a man of war, right? So whenever you go into, you don't just rush into battle. You usually have a plan, right? Some sort of plan. So in these terms, like when you start to work on a project or when you go to war, you do make battle plans, right? Mm-hmm. So he doesn't just do his own thing. Go ahead.
Are there a lot of situations where we know a battle plan? I feel like most of it, he's just kind of dropped in an area where there's a bunch of enemies, and for the most part, things go to real quick.
Yeah, man, that's hard. When starting to work on a project, you prefer to make as many decisions up front as possible. I think this is yes. I'm sorry. I do think this is a yes. I do think this is an agree because if you have, it depends on the situation too. Like, yeah, if you are thrown in the heat of battle, if you are thrown in, then he's just going to be doing whatever he has to. But if he has the option to make a battle plan, which we've seen him do in games, we've seen him, it's like, hey, we're going to go to the ship. We're going to go do this thing. Yeah, I think he wants to make as many decisions and get a strategy in mind before he proceeds to do anything that he does.
Right. So I think, so is this a middle of the road agree? Because he is still doing things on a whim for the most part. Yeah, even his battle plans to an extent are kind of like, we're going to do this and do this and do this, and they don't really I would even say it's a soft degree, probably. Soft degree, okay. I'm right there with you. I was on the agree side. I knew there was nuance there, so I just wanted to get that on the table there.
Right.
All right, moving on. When you know someone thinks highly of you, you also wonder how long it will be until they become disappointed in you.
Disagree.
Yep, he doesn't care. You could be Cortana, and for the most part, he's just going to be like, oh, you don't like me now? Cool, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up a conversation.
Disagree.
Does he find people interesting?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. Like, no, I think you smile and wave, boys. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to say something very similar to that. So, you often drift away into daydreaming about various ideas or scenarios.
Disagree.
Yeah. It's kind of how we brought up the whole bizarre and fantastical thing earlier.
Yeah,
it reminds me of that question.
Right, yeah.
You often drift away. So, if he does this, it has to be all the time. So if he ever does this, but it's rarely, then we can't be a hard disagree. So that's what I want to get in.
I'd go in the middle.
Okay. Yep. That's where I was at too. Perfect. Middle of the road disagree on that one. You look after yourself first, and others come in second.
Agree.
Yep. That was kind of one of those things. Go on.
Well, yeah, actually,
it's an agree. But what level?
It's an agree, but I don't think it's like a get ahead mentality like every time. I do think there is a little bit of nuance, as you say. So I think it's a middle in the road. Agree.
That's right where I was too. Like we said, he's going to step on people, but he's not going to like it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He is looking at himself first.
Yes.
But it's almost like others don't come in second to him though either. That's not necessarily right. That's where the nuance comes in.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
stepping on other people first because they come in first, which is weird to say, but I think you understand what I'm getting
Well, you got to crack a couple eggs to
at.
bake a cake, right? So I think that's
Absolutely.
kind of, I think that's kind of what it comes like. He doesn't, just because he has to doesn't necessarily mean he's enjoying it.
Absolutely. Yep, right there with you. Moving on. Even when you have planned a particular daily routine, you usually just end up doing what you feel like at any given moment. Does he have a routine?
I don't think so.
No.
But if he did, I still think like he's just going to do whatever he wants.
Yep.
So
So yeah,
I don't know.
this is an agree.
I think that's an agree. Yeah.
Is it a hard degree?
I think it's a hard agree.
Okay, that's where my gut was too. Just making sure. Moving on. Your mood can change very quickly. I don't think so. I think he's pretty even.
He's pretty straightforward. I'd have to say disagree.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I put a hard disagree. You often contemplate the reasons for human existence or the meaning of life.
Disagree.
No, I don't think so. Not a philosophical person. You often talk about your own feelings and emotions.
Disagree.
Yep, right there with you. Next page. You have got detailed education or career development plans stretching several years into the future.
Disagree.
Yeah, I don't think so. Did he go to school? Is that something he did?
I mean, he was experimented on, like for the Spartan program, but I don't know if that necessarily is career development or detailed education. I think,
right. Seems like more of a private company kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You rarely dwell on your regrets. So I think you brought up a good point on this earlier, where you think he dwells on these often. You just don't think he surfaces these regrets.
Yeah, I think those things are definitely there. So I'm gonna have to say probably middle of the road disagree.
Okay.
Like I think he does dwell on these things for sure.
Okay. Yep, I'm right there with you. Middle of the road disagree for me as well. Spending time in a dynamic atmosphere with lots of people around quickly makes you feel drained and in need of a getaway. So we've had questions like this before, and they're annoying. I get it, but this one adds another layer to it, which actually, of all the questions, this is the one I like the most. Does he feel drained by it? Because I don't think he feels drained by it. I just think he's just not here for it.
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, it's like a line of duty. Like he does it because he has to. Lots of people around quickly makes you feel drained and in need of a getaway. I think this is probably a soft. This is a weird one, honestly.
Right.
I feel like this is probably a soft disagree because
I was gonna say soft agree or disagree. It has to be a soft one way or the other. That's where I'm at. So
yeah, I agree.
Soft disagree.
I'm gonna say soft disagree. I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs a getaway like a vacation. I just think he needs to just like isolate. So
yep.
Can we go soft disagree?
Yep, that's where I already put in. I am at a soft disagree. Sounds good to me. You see yourself as more of a realist than a visionary, and the visionary is the thing I will agree, or I'll Google sometimes.
A realist is someone who lives like and is realistic about what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
A visionary has more like, I don't want to say higher thinking because that's not right, but
optimistic thinking.
Yeah, maybe. Like optimism. Yeah, being more optimism, and it's like, oh well, follow your dreams. You can achieve everything, right? That's not Master Chief. Master Chief is let's get it done because we have guns that are tangible in our hands, and we can shoot stuff with them. So let's take care of it.
So yeah, that's a hard agree then, you think?
Yeah, for sure.
You find it easy to empathize with a person who has gone through something you never have. Does he find it easy to empathize?
No, I don't think he does.
No. I don't think he empathizes much with anyone.
No.
To be fair. That'd be a hard disagree. Well, like you brought up, he probably empathizes with the people he has to kill, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if hard disagree is right because he did get experimented on, and I do think there are parts of him that's like, okay, yeah, like this kind of sucks or whatever. Like maybe he probably does sympathize with the Arbiter a little bit because the Arbiter kind of goes through a similar process as to what he went through. He's just kind of like a tool, in the hands of a higher power. So I would have to go middle of the road disagree.
Okay. You convinced me. Yeah, my gut told me there was some nuance there. I just didn't know where it was, and you convinced me. So your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than to organized and consistent efforts.
Personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy. I think this is no. I think he's consistently on point pretty much all the time, ready to go.
I think there's some nuance there, so I think it's got to be in the middle of the road. What do you think? Because a spontaneous burst of energy, maybe not, but spontaneity is kind of part of the job as well. And I'm okay with putting a hard disagree. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just.
I'll go middle. Like I'll you know what, Austin, to appease you, I'll put middle. All right,
just for me.
Just for you.
Just for me. Fair enough. Okay, next page. This is the last page, so you don't have to suffer through this any longer.
Okay, sounds good. I've already taken this test one other time today, you know.
You poor thing. All right.
I know.
Your emotions control you more than you control them.
Hard disagree.
Right there with you. Yep, it's a hard disagree. Not an emotional person. After a long and exhausting week, a fun party is just what you need.
Hard disagree.
Put on his swimming trunks, his little umbrella.
Yeah, the umbrella. Where's the Corona?
Perfect. They should sponsor. You frequently find yourself wondering how technological advancement could change everyday life.
I think this is a middle of the road agree because I think the nature of his line of work, the weaponry he sees, the warfare, seeing Covenant technology.
You think he frequently wonders about it though?
Yeah,
I see what you're getting at. He's in a technological.
I do because I definitely do because how can you not? It's like frick. Like what are they gonna bring now? You know what I mean?
Okay.
My gut tells me middle of the road agree. But I would go soft agree. I don't think this falls into disagree category. Like territory at all.
Okay. Yeah, you're saying like, what are they gonna pull out of their sleeve next that will help me with my mission? Something that I've never seen before, some kind of tech. Is that what you're getting at? Kind of a thing?
Yeah, like what are we like? How are we going to win the war? You know, or how are we going to stay armed to the teeth? Like, what's the newest weapon? That's a big thing with armies today. You know, is weaponry. So yeah, I think it falls somewhere in the middle of between a soft and a middle agree.
I will go a middle agree. How's that sound?
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. You always consider how your actions might affect other people before doing something.
Always disagree.
So is that a hard disagree?
Yes, because always connotates like every single time you always think about what this person is going to go through if I do this thing. And I don't think he does every single time.
He hasn't had the luxury to do so.
He's not the only person that does that. There's only two people that do that, and that's God and Superman. So that's it. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah, those are two great examples for sure. You still honor the commitments you have made, even if you have a change of heart. Does he have a change of heart?
I don't think he does.
A little bit, I guess.
But if he does, if he did have a change of heart, I still think he would carry out the mission.
Yep, right there with you. Okay, last question. You rarely feel insecure.
Agreed.
This would be agreed. Perfect. Okay, go ahead and click see results, and we'll see what we get, and then we'll see
how much. The gender is male, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. See results.
I got virtuoso. Is that what you got?
That's what I got. ISTPA.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to blip through the first 5 here, just for the listeners, and then we'll go through the strengths and weaknesses, and we'll have you pick it apart. All right?
Okay, sounds good.
So he's mostly introverted, which I guess I didn't really expect to be that much introverted. He's 94% introverted, 6% extroverted. He's 66% observant rather than intuitive, and I feel like there's probably a little more balance I expected there. But
yeah, I can see it. Expected that. Yeah, I probably expected that to be more like 60-40 rather than like closer to 70%, but you know.
Yeah, it's in the like I said, it's kind of in the ballpark there, but it's a bit more than I expected for sure. What do you think about the introverted thing? Did that surprise you at all?
That sounds right to me.
Okay. Nature, he is mostly a thinker rather than a feeler, and that makes sense. It might even be a little weak on the think. It's on 79%, and then 21 feeling. In my mind, it's probably more 90-10, but that's okay. But well, because you did say he does kind of dwell on like hurting people that he doesn't really. I think he does.
Even if he doesn't outwardly express it, he definitely thinks about it. You have to.
He's on a shell. At least we don't think he is.
Yeah, exactly.
This tactics. This trait. I like to read this one out because this one's a little not as straightforward for the viewers and me as well. Tactics. This trait reflects our approach to work, planning, and decision making, and it's pretty 50-50, prospecting and judging. Yeah. So I think that where that comes into it is where is he more detail oriented or is he more spontaneous? And I feel like for the most part he is detail oriented, but a lot of his job is being like it has that spontaneity in it.
Yeah, like he spontaneously executes thing in a detailed manner, like effectively. He
I suppose, yeah.
I mean, he effectively executes nearly everything he tries to do.
The details change spontaneously.
Yes, I guess. Exactly.
Okay. And then identity, he is very assertive rather than turbulent. But I think that the amount of turbulence there, I think, is right, where it comes back to where he kind of struggles internally with like what he's doing. But he is 110% totally. Assertive. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
So to be fair, he's 81% assertive, but you understand what I'm saying. 81% assertive and 19% turbulent. Okay.
Correct.
So I'm going to go down to the strengths and weaknesses, and then if you want to pick these apart, go right ahead.
Okay. So start reading. Is that what I click?
Yeah, hit start reading, and then on the left there, it will say introduction, strengths and weaknesses. Just click on strengths and weaknesses there.
Okie doke. Strengths and weaknesses. A
And
virtuoso strengths. Optimistic and energetic.
you don't have to read off the whole thing. Just anything that comes out that you're like, no, or you're like, okay, that nailed it. So you can go ahead and read all the bullet points, but it's not, just anything that jumps out at you, kind of like how you did for yours, like just agree, disagree, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So strengths and weaknesses, you have optimistic and energetic. I feel like being optimistic is probably so. I think I think we established he's a realist, so that's kind of funny. Energetic, yeah, that's inherent. Creative and practical, yes, because there's so many times he runs out of ammo in a gun or is trying to look to find the next thing to stay alive. You have to use quite a bit of creativity, especially if you ever played a Halo game on Legendary. If you never have, like you gotta get creative. Yeah, you gotta get creative to stay alive, or else you're done. Absolutely. You're donezo. You know what I mean?
I play on a road on almost all of them, for the record.
Yeah, spontaneous and rational. I feel like that's pretty. I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah. Knows how to prioritize. That's correct. Great in a crisis.
Great in a crisis. Nailed it.
Yes, nailed it. Relaxed. I don't know if relaxed is the right. I mean, yeah, he's calm.
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 I like calm more than relaxed. You're right.
Yeah, same. All right, let's look at the weaknesses.
Stubborn.
I think that's.
I see it.
I see it. I do. Insensitive. Absolutely. Private and reserved. We never see his face, so yes. Easily bored. I don't know about that. I mean, he does quite a bit of interesting things. Dislikes commitment. Don't think that fits. Risky behavior. 1000%. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these are pretty. There's only a few that I think we could kind of throw away, but for the most part, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty spot on for the most part, which is like at the top of the show when I mentioned there's usually a few outliers because, it's just a test on the internet. But I feel like this one did okay. I feel like we answered these questions pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to try to find the spot where it gives other examples of like people that you may know that have this. I just don't ever remember what page it's on. So
yeah, I'm looking too. It's at the very bottom of introduction.
Introduction. Okay, thank you so much. You think it wouldn't be an introduction, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so I agree. We got Michael Jordan in there.
Let's go.
Everyone knows Michael Jordan, MJ himself. Clint Eastwood. He seemed like a Clint Eastwood type. I can see that.
I can see that.
Yeah. Mila Jovovich,
that's the Resident Evil lady.
Okay. Daniel Craig, who's Bond, and I can see a slight Bondish impression there, I guess.
I can see that.
Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible-ish. Michael Weston? Oh, Burn Notice. Okay, I know the show. I've never watched it. Hawkeye. We got Hawkeye in there. Indiana Jones. Okay. Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see
that.
Jack Bauer. I watched a little bit of. I don't like Kiefer Sutherland.
My dad loves him, so I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Jack Bauer fan, but that's just me.
Right. I can see where they're coming from with that.
Yeah. John McClane, though, I feel like that might be the most Master Chief-y person in this list.
Okay. I have a confession. I've never seen any Die Hards.
Really?
I know.
Okay.
I know I'm a bad person. I know.
Talk about someone who just defies all the odds and just goes for it. Like.
Okay. Yeah, I understand like his movies. Like, yeah, I totally understand that, but I just never watched them. MacGyver.
Man, I was really hoping that Master Chief would be on here, but I don't know.
I think I've only seen a few video game characters, and they're like Nathan Drake.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Completely opposite Master Chief, but I feel like this all seems right. You know what I mean?
The results were pretty spot on, I would say. I think we did a good job. I think we have the definitive answer on what his personality is. I think it's a virtuoso. So
very nice.
I think we did it.
We did it well.
Gabe, we found out that Master Chief is a virtuoso today. What do you think overall? Do you think we nailed it? Do you think there's a little nuance we could have done better with? What do you think?
I think we nailed it. I mean, I think for the most part, we did a great job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we nailed it. So I'm going to get back to my puppy. I'm going to let Gabe go after listening to us talk for an hour and 20 minutes. Gabe, I'm going to wave goodbye to the camera. You should do the same.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.